Can Judith save herself and her marriage from her inappropriate dealings with Ronald?
In Tyler Perry's The Marriage Counselor, the play from 2008, Judith is left to deal with the fallout of her own actions.
Will her dirty deeds catch up with her?
What was the real reason Judith cheated in the first place? And will she choose her husband, Roger, or her side dude, Ronald? Let's find out in part 2 and the conclusion of our full breakdown of The Marriage Counselor, the play.
I'm Heit.
And I'm Cheri.
And you've discovered Axiom Amnesia.
We want to thank all of the supporters who helped to make this video possible. If you want your name to appear alongside these contributors, make a one-time donation of $5 or more via our website at axiom.app, Cash App, or you can head on over to patreon.com/axiomamnesia to enjoy all of the benefits of becoming a monthly subscriber.
There will be spoilers, so
yes.
If you haven't seen the first part, you're going to need to go watch our first part.
Yes, and it's linked in the description. And before we get started, we wanted to direct you to our latest video as of this recording on the Axiom Amnesia channel. Tales from the Hood, The Dolls Were a Prophecy is the basic title of the video, and it's linked in the description. In light of current events, we encourage you to follow the breadcrumbs in that video for some vital information that's pertinent to today's current events.
Yeah.
So let's get back to this play. A short background, we're going to just say, give a rundown of where we are to this point in the play, right? So Judith is married and she's a marriage counselor, and she's going through a bad patch in her marriage where she feels neglected by her husband, Roger. And then an old college flame, Ronald, shows up and begins manipulating Judith and enticing her into an affair. And after Roger forgets their anniversary, cancels their vacation, and continues to work long hours, Judith is fed up and goes out on a date with Ronald. One thing led to another, and Judith begins an affair with Ronald. Meanwhile, her husband, Roger, has seen that he needs to be more attentive, and he asks for Judith's forgiveness. She accepts, and now Judith must decide whether she will stay with her husband or whether she's going to leave to be with her rich side dude. If you're watching this, chances are Tyler Perry has you hooked. Whether you love his films, love to hate them, or just can't resist them as a guilty pleasure. But here's what you might not know. We already have gone deep into Tyler Perry land. We've got entire playlists breaking down his stories, his characters, and all the drama you can't stop talking about. So don't miss out. Hit the description for links to the Ultimate Why Did I Get Married playlist and the Ultimate Tyler Perry binge playlist. Trust me, you'll want to binge these and share them with your friends.
You know you want to be with me.
This part just kind of started off with a bang, really.
It really did. Lisa is cleaning the office. Remember, Lisa is the one who's the cleaner who we found out in the last segment was actually, we're guessing that Ronald is her ex, right? Who was crazy. And she's cleaning the office, and Roger, Judith's husband, comes in. He's like, I'm here to surprise her for dinner, blah, blah, blah. But she's not there.
I came to surprise Judith and take her to dinner. Is she around?
No, she's already gone.
And he's like, well, she's been working late and everything. And Lisa was like, I ain't seen her late in a minute, so obviously something is going on. And there's also a client there that's waiting for Judith named Michelle.
You are?
I'm Michelle.
Hi, Michelle. I'm Roger. I'm Judith's husband.
Oh, nice to meet you.
So, and we saw Michelle before. Michelle was the one who was in that relationship with the guy who was, her husband is basically criticizing her weight and stuff. Then, he's making small talk with Michelle, and Roger is like, oh, yeah, Ronald Henry was here.
Pro basketball star Ronald Henry was right here.
Wait, are you serious? Ronald Henry was here?
And Lisa hears that, and she's like, Ronald Henry, that's my ex-husband.
That's my ex-husband, Roger. He's crazy.
And then she's like, he's crazy, and she runs out.
I gotta go.
And so, then he was just like, oh, man, that's a whole mess or whatever.
Ooh-wee. That's a hot mess right there.
So then...
So is at that point that we know he may have HIV? Did she say specifically that she got it from her husband?
Yeah, she said that at first, that he was in them streets. So now we know Ronald likely has it, and Judith isn't around because she's, started hanging out with Ronald. So
Well, we know they smashed.
Roger calls Judith and is like, oh, where are you? And Judith is like, lies to him and says that she's in the office. Well, she done been caught at this point because he's at the office and he knows she ain't there.
You're sitting at your desk.
And she claims she's sitting at her desk, blah, blah, blah. So he says that he'll see her when she gets home. And, you know, clearly he's putting two and two together and he's all disappointed.
Miss Michelle.
And yeah.
And then, so she's also missing appointments and stuff because Michelle is like, I haven't seen her in days. You know what I'm saying? Or since last week, she missed the appointment. And yeah.
Yeah. And Roger's trying to be all professional still with Michelle. And he's like, well, you know, Judith won't be here. And
Judith is not going to be able to make it this evening. Something has come up.
And that was how he found out she'd been missing appointments or whatever. And he was like, it was a pleasure meeting you and have a blessed evening. And then before they can move along, who comes through the door but Dr. Judith and her D appointment, basically. And so her and Ronald are coming in talking about what they're going to do next, talking about their plans.
So I was thinking that maybe we go to South Africa. At first I thought,
Want us to cover your favorite movie ASAP? A one-time contribution of just $50 or more to Axiom Amnesia gets you a deep dive on demand, a 30-minute discussion on any film you choose.
It's easy. Step 1, send $50 via our website, axiom.app, where you can pay via card, Apple Pay, or you can pay directly via Cash App at $Axiom Amnesia. See the links below. Step 2, tell us your movie, email, the name you want to appear on screen, and what kind of deep dive you want. General, a specific character, a particular aspect of the film, etc. Step 3, watch your deep dive on demand with your name listed as executive producer.
Lock in your deep dive on demand today and hurry. Spots are limited.
This offer is not valid for filmmakers or distributors. Subject to availability and terms apply. So they done basically been caught by Michelle and by Roger, her husband. And so she's like, oh man, you know, and so she tells Ronald to go wait in the car. And he's like, yeah, how about he says, how about I wait in your new Rolls Royce?
How about I go wait out in your brand new Rolls Royce?
You know, then he got the nerve to kiss Judith right there in front of her husband.
Honey, what the?
You know, and she's announcing Ronald and I are together.
I'm gonna hurt you, but Ronald and I
think
are
I better
together.
go. Y'all have an issue.
I mean, she got her whole butt up on her back and completely feels justified in what she's doing. So Michelle is also like, I'm coming to you as a marriage counselor, and this is how you handling your own affairs. Clearly, I made a mistake, you know.
So you mean to tell me I come to you for help and this is how you act?
And Judith's like, no. You going to learn how to talk to a man because Michelle tried to hit the eggs.
You are gonna sit down right here, and you are gonna listen, and you're gonna learn how to talk to a man, okay?
I said, what? So she's like, I'm about to give you an example. This is how you do it, girl. I was just like, man, that's crazy. So then she gets to yelling at Roger and she's like, you have neglected me and I have tried to talk to you, but I'm moving in with Ronald and all you think about is work and bills and everything all the time. I'm moving on. So here, you know, we questioned in the first part whether or not who was paying the bills, whether she was actually contributing and everything like that. And in the past, I don't think, other than feeling neglected by him and his focus on finances and work so that he could have the money, I don't think she was all with that attitude like you're beneath me. But we remember that was some stuff that Ronald was planting in her head.
So what she told him was, you are weak, you are boring, you are punk. And then she said, you are beneath me.
Oh, just wrong.
Dang.
You are beneath me.
What? Judith!
He had just told her that. And
then she starts calling her husband Roger Ronald, you know, like she just starts talking and she's saying the wrong name.
I've come to this, Ronald. Who? Roger.
And they've been married for 3 years. So I was like, oh, this is why Tyler Perry had to make their names sound similar. So it could be, you know, but I mean, still, that's just, I hate that aspect of the film.
This actress, she did a good job in that part, though. I like that.
And then she starts, so she's doing like Ronald has gotten in her mind. She's saying the things Ronald said to her to convince her to leave her husband. You know, you weak and all of that. I'm a great woman and I deserve a great man, all that business. And she's even repeating his words to her husband. And then she even calls him a punk. And and he's like, if you're so unhappy, then I'll pack your bags and send them to you.
And have them sent to you, all right?
Fine.
Judith is supposed to be like, nah, I don't need them old rags.
Yeah, but she didn't say that. She was just
stuff.
like, I'll send you the address,
But
you know?
if I'm her client, I want my money back, bro. I don't know what's going on with you.
You know, but so she, leaves after this. Judith leaves with her butt on her back and feeling justified, talking about, you got my mama sleeping on an air mattress.
You got my mother sleeping on some air mattress.
And I was just like, yeah, see, when people start doing wrong and start acting trifling, then they try to pile on and act like even the things that the person has done to try to help, to try to do everything that they can do is just not good enough. They're just, it's just wrong. And so she goes on and leaves, and Roger is devastated, but he composes himself for Michelle, and he's like, I'm sorry you had to see that.
I'm sorry you had to see that.
But he says, like he said in the movie, I did not see that coming. And then she's like, well, women don't always let you know outright.
Like, you should have saw it coming.
Basically, she said, but they don't always let you know what they're thinking, but they communicate between the words.
See, women don't always let you know what they're thinking. They communicate between the words.
And then she goes into this song that basically is saying is all between the words.
Between the words.
Exactly. If she started working late at the office and stuff, and then that means she getting some D. That's
lying about her
between the
whereabouts
words.
and stuff like that. Okay, so here, I guess my beef was just like, okay, why, if you decided you want to go on and do something else, why don't you just move on? Like, if you're going to move on,
Well,
okay.
They were about to, but this just got in the way of that. Because think about it. He must have just got her that Rolls Royce today because she wasn't pulling up at home and that thing.
Or, yeah.
Yeah, so maybe today was still the day.
Yeah, so this is just adding up to a big mess. But the other thing that I kind of wonder, because when Roger was being nice to Michelle, I was like, okay, so are they going to wind up getting together? We don't know, because I haven't seen this play. So I'm just guessing, because they seemed a little friendly, He seemed nice to her, and she was kind of nice to him, even though this other crazy stuff is happening. In Tyler Perry land, he likes to let you meet your future partner when you in the world of mess with the last one, and then you're like, oh, you were in front of me the whole time. We saw that with the Why Did I Get Married play, where the guy that Sheila winds up with is the same guy who has been in her life this whole time as a friend, and so
Right. So then they sung this whole song, and dude made himself cry.
Oh.
But
sad.
I'm saying he actually, man, I'm talking about the acting.
Yeah, but like, it's
character.
sad, and he just went on and made himself cry. Like, that's some good acting right there.
But it's sad.
In the next scene, we see Floyd and TT talking about Roger after Judith has left. So, they're aware that Judith have moved out, and what's going to happen next. Then we see
and her
Roger.
mama didn't go.
And
her mama is still staying with the husband.
Yeah. So she won't even talk to her mother about it. She just over there having a good time. Like, you done left your mama up on the husband that you done left. And in addition to that, Roger comes in and he starts talking too. And Judith has left him in debt. He's still paying her student loans. And he's like, but I still got to take care of both of y'all. I got to figure out how I'm going to do this and whatever.
Daddy, I don't know what I'm going to do. I mean, you guys are retired. You can't work. I got to take care of you.
And I was just thinking, like, he really is a good man, because he did not abandon her mother just because she's out here cutting the fool.
What about the people who would say that he's not a good man because he forgot her anniversary and those sort of thing and didn't pay attention to her?
I think that they're full of it. Nobody out in this world is perfect. Just as much as he wasn't paying enough attention to her, she also was overspending and contributing to the problems that was making him have to focus on making more money, because she felt entitled to just spend like she wanted to spend, and wasn't, being a good steward of that which she had, And then we get this, what I would call a message monologue from Roger. And he basically is like, why is being a good man not good enough?
I'm a good man.
Yes, you are. You're a good man.
And Mama, you tell me something. Why isn't that enough?
You know, and then he says that he's going to go out there and be the biggest hoe he could be.
I'm going to go out here and become the biggest whore to ever live.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am.
And then his daddy is like, nah. And he said, no, but they not going to love me until I'm a dog.
No,
They ain't going to love me till I'm a dog.
They ain't gonna do that.
And, you know, I felt that pain for him because, you know, so many times I hear, you know, our brothers talk about that, you know, like, oh, if I'm the good man, if I'm the decent man, I just get dogged out. But the women a lot of times would just go the extra mile for the dude who is just not doing anything for her. Or even if he is, you know, it's just not fair to them. You know, they don't get a full chance. And I really felt bad for the situation that's being portrayed here. But his father says, you know, don't let your love for this woman turn you into somebody who you're not. And just continue to do good like you've been doing, and God is going to bring good to you.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
Well,
We
that's,
kind of have this quick discussion on this all the time, right?
yeah.
If I do good, then I get good, which makes some sort of religion that is prime for prosperity gospel.
Yeah. Yeah. You know,
And then if somebody doesn't have what we think is good, then they're basically ungodly or unworthy.
it must
right?
be your fault that you're
Yeah.
poor. It must be your fault that you don't have, you know. But as opposed to focus on that aspect of it, I was thinking about like the message of being true to yourself. Like, don't let somebody else's terrible and heinous actions turn you into a monster. You know, we recently covered the film Come and See, which talks about it's a war film and really bad atrocities from World War II. And it's actually available to our Patreon and channel members at this point. You know, so if you are a member, you can check that video out. But, you know, we talked kind of about the same thing, like, you know, be careful because you can turn into the evil, so to speak, because of what they've done to you and your response. Like, be careful about what your response to that evil is going to be, because you don't want to be just like those people. So in this case, I think that it was sage advice from his father to say, you know, don't just go out there and do something that's not even you just for retaliation. But you know, some people may have different opinions about whether doing good in the world is gonna, you know, that God is gonna bless you for that, right? So people have different feelings about that. But here's what I would say, you know, why not do good for goodness sake? Why not do good because it is the right thing to do, as opposed to what you'll receive in return?
Right.
You know, that's the way that I look at it. Because the other thing is that in life, you can be doing all the right things. You could be doing good. You could be being good to people who will just dog you out, who just don't care, who are acting like Judith, right? But the thing is, if my behavior is going to depend on whether they act like they appreciate it or whether they reciprocate it, then I'm just basically reactionary. I'm doing something because I expect something in return.
Yeah.
And yeah, I that's problematic.
Yeah, and then, you know, they had a whole bunch of weed jokes and stuff, and I'm like, it's getting tired. And like in 2009, maybe it worked with the 2009 church audience or whatever, but yeah, it's doing too much.
Yeah.
with
So
the weed,
Judith shows up. She just rolls
Don't come
in the
to
house.
my house.
I'm coming to get just a few things, she says.
I just came to get a few things and then I'll be on my way.
And then the mama tries to talk to her, and she's like, that boy is about to lose everything. And she says, so?
That boy's about to lose everything. So?
This is so the man who will put you through an Ivy League college education and pay your student loans back and support you through that, you decide to traipse off with another man, and when somebody points out to what you did, you say so. Let me tell you something about life. Life will come and put you in a circumstance, and you'll be getting your butt spanked. And I have a feeling that that's what's going to happen to Judith in this situation here, because she is just out of bounds. She is out of bounds. But anyway, the mother tries to give her some advice and tells her, you know, you can't become happy by making everybody miserable.
You can't become happy making everybody else miserable.
and marriage goes in cycles, and you got to be able to hang in there. And then that's when, Judith started talking about, well, if I'm bored in my marriage, then wait, what?
If I was bored in my marriage, Mama, what was I supposed to do?
Stick it out.
So, commitment isn't about being bored or not being bored and everything. Like what are you talking about? Why are you even married? How can you even counsel people? Which the mother points out, like, I don't think you need to be counseling
that's why
nobody.
she's not married, right? So she figured, hey, I'll get out of this relationship and go with the guy to get what I want to get. So
yeah. So then she tries to, just be disrespectful to her mother. And Judith is like, nah, sit down. And then, of course, TT, Judith's mother, tells her to sit down.
I am your mother, and you will not disrespect me.
And then she goes into the song, but the song is basically like, you talking crazy to me, you disrespecting me, but I'm still the one who carried you in love. I'm the one that God sent here to be your mother, and I'm still your mother when it's all said and done.
You only get one.
And I gotta admit, this song touched me. Like, it made me tear up a little bit, not drop the tears, but it did make me tear up because, and the message is like, always remember that she's the only mother you get. We only get one.
Yeah.
And it
So I always talk about, I don't like the music and stuff, but the skill and the talent and the technical about it, right, is what I'm into. And it make me think about like people now. Like when you see these performances or hear these performances, people for the older folks, they are like, wow. You know what I'm saying? And I wonder if they can really have performances like that on a wide scale for these young audiences. And maybe a big gap would be whether or not the old people would connect with maybe a young singer who can't perform to these sorts of levels.
Right. Because remember,
and just the styles.
Yes. And the cast is that, like, this is not a Broadway cast, but these are people who are seasoned veterans who have the ability to perform an entire song live. Much respect to that, because most of the recording artists cannot do it. And it is a lot harder than it seems. We covered Tyler Perry's When the Family That Prays, and we did what we called, we just decided to do something creative and interesting, a musical criticism. And, as you guys, many of you know, I'm a singer. Heit is a pianist and musician all around and producer. And so we just kind of took a different approach to it, and we did like a musical criticism of it, where we talked about the themes in that film. And a lot of you saw it. Many of you did enjoy it. Some of you guys are not into music in that same way, in these types of performances. And that's okay, too. It may not be for everybody. But I'll link that in the description as well. But what I was going to say is it is a lot harder than it seems. Especially it's way easier to be a recording artist where you just punch in that line. You don't even have to sing the whole song. You could just sing each line at a time, but it takes a lot more skill, a lot more of everything to be able to deliver it with the feeling at the time. And, when we did that, it was just kind of off the cuff. But, each of those segments that we recorded was from beginning to end. And if I messed up, y'all heard it, that's just what it is. And that's what it would be for these performers as well. Obviously, I am not studied and practiced at the level that they are. But the point being that much respect to anybody who can do that. It reminds me of, Aretha Franklin's funeral, actually, which I think was like 8 hours long. I was watching the live stream. And there were points where, the various speakers and whatnot hadn't come up. And of course, these are all old school singers who most of them originated in the church. And there was a point where Gladys Knight was up there and she was waiting for the next person. And, they didn't want to have too much dead time on the, just on the stage. So she just looked at the, she just said something, and she just starts singing the song with the band, right there. Like she could just, boom, perform on cue. A lot of the people now, because it's all you got to do is, because there hasn't been enough attention to the craft itself, can't actually do that. They can't do it. So, but anyway, I don't know. Could it work? There are young artists.
Right. That's what I was about to say. There are young people who are probably doing things similar to this and doing those live type of shows and stuff. But yeah, the I don't know. I don't just think that the people who kind of bubble up or who can get a lot of attention can do this. So maybe like you get Haley Bailey and her sister, right?
Yeah.
Who could probably pull it off.
Yeah. Yeah, they probably could because
And they
they're
probably have a
definitely
big enough
very
audience and
rehearsed.
stuff. Yeah.
They're musicians. They have already a fan
And they can
base.
sing and you'll be like, ooh, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? But some people that I think of who are real popular, I don't think you get a ooh moment in there. It's just like,
Nah.
all right. Kind of like how their music is. Yeah, that's a vibe. You know?
Well, because even when you look at some of the old school people now, you know how they get caught and they're like, so-and-so's vocals was not good, right?
Yeah.
You know, and I think one of the things that happens is the more you're doing it, see, when these people were younger, I just recently saw one where the singer Monica, they were talking about she was off key. We've seen them say that same thing about Mariah Carey and other
Don't
people
talk
who
about
we
Mariah
know.
or Alicia Keys. Y'all need to stop
People
that.
Alicia Keys was at the Super Bowl
I
and hit
know,
that bad
that's-
note that they fixed real quick. But the point is that I think that when these artists get out of practice, right? When you go sit home for a few years and then you come to do a performance, like you're just not as in practice as you normally would be, you know, and maybe you just haven't had the same preparation. Maybe you just tried to go off the top of your head and you just needed to stick closer to the script, you know, like things can happen. And so many other things affect, you know, your ability to sing and not mess up. But the fact of the matter is, I'm sure a wrong note has been hit before, like in these performances, any type of performance where you're singing, because every night is not going to be the same, you know? And so that can happen. But yeah.
But as with the singing, so is the actor. They're doing live shows night after night.
So, you know, but, you know, back to the song about the mother, you know, I'll just have to say, just on a more personal note, like, get right with your people. Yeah, it just reminds me of just, you know, it's not that hard to be right with people if you can, or to be open to be right with people. Because a lot of times people regret it after somebody is gone when they haven't been right to them. They haven't, you know, those are the people that I see that that I've observed have the most regret. The people who were busy trying to fight it out, duke it out, arguing, feeling, and justifying their actions of whatever they felt somebody did to them instead of just coming in peace. Those are the people who have the hardest time finding peace after, you know, the separation of life and death happens to folks. So that's just it. And of course, you know, I thought about my mama who, you know, I'm just like, oh, you know, because man, mamas be having your back.
But I'm your best friend to the very end. I'm gonna be there for you.
You know, when you out here in the world, most of the ones I know do. Now, I've heard some horror stories and I'm so sorry for you all who have experienced it, but I just appreciate, you know, I appreciate my mama. Just to have the title itself, there's just a minimum amount of respect that you should pay, period. So that's just my thought. And I'm off my soapbox. Becky is at the office, Judith's office. And then Judith's mama, Titi, and Roger's father, Floyd, show up at the office and talking about they about to counsel all of Judith's clients that Judith has just basically abandoned.
We're here to take over these appointments. Thank you.
And Becky is like, do you know anything about being a marriage counselor? And TT is like, well, I know Jesus, so, you know.
We got this.
Do you even know anything about being a marriage counselor?
I know Jesus.
I'm like, what in the fraud is going on?
No, because don't you have to have a license to be offering any type
I
of
don't know if
counseling
you have to
services?
be a license, but if I show up at somebody's office and I pretend to be, and I say, we're the marriage counselors,
Y'all ain't got no experiences.
Nothing. But
Perpetrating fraud, but it probably ain't the first time it happened, okay? So then we get the two couples that we had seen in the past, you know, the pastor who has the exotic dancer wife, and then the couple that's kind of like Sheila and Mike off of Why Did I Get Married, right? Where he's upset with her weight gain and, you know, he says he's not attracted to her anymore. So they show up and then TT is like, well, why don't we start by telling everybody what we love about our spouses? So then Patrice, who is the ex-stripper, and her husband, the pastor, they tell how they went to church together, because remember earlier she was refusing to go to church with him, so she did try to go to church with him. She said she didn't like it, you know, and basically because the people were looking at her, she was concerned about them talking about her and stuff like that, and she just felt very judged. And TT tells her, don't let anybody come between you and God. So basically keep going to the church.
And it basically was like, yo, but look at what you were wearing when you went there.
Right.
I think that's what Michelle said, right?
And Floyd was seconding that, motion. Basically, that's why they was looking at you, because what you had on.
Yeah, and that's how, like, I think of people now when you see them online and they're like women talking about how they're dressing more modestly and stuff, and I'm like,
well, in
not
particular,
that modest, but maybe for the time it is.
Oh man, and in particular when they start talking about classy, I'm classy, and all of that, and yes, some of it is a function of the generation gap, and I'm older than a lot of these youngins who come out thinking you dressing classy, and I'm like, girl, you ain't got on the clothes, and that's kind of unprofessional sometimes. And, you need to check that and just be appropriate. But I think the other part is, number one, appropriateness is a function of the generation, that you come from and what they are commonly doing today.
And kind of what those elders tell you.
Right.
But it's always going to be the youth rebel, right? But then when somebody telling you, hey, this run by old folks, right? Like many jobs and stuff is run by a certain type of person. You dress this way. Because that's just how it is.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So that's going to be a problem.
People
And
tell you.
It reminded me of a vlogger that we watch. We've been watching her for years. And she had gone off to Dubai. And so I was thinking to myself, I don't know how this is going to turn out, because she dresses what I would judge as provocatively, yes. And then you're going over to this, Muslim country where, yes, in Dubai, it's a little bit different, because they have, they're big on tourism and stuff like that. But there are still people who dress very modestly. So one of the things we noticed early on when she got there was she looked very uncomfortable. And I think because people were looking at her, she was like, well, I'm going out by myself and people, and I'm thinking part of it is that you are inappropriate. You are not dressed appropriately for where you are. And then she started to realize that. And I was so proud of her. I was like, oh, look at little baby girl. Because then later in a different vlog, she was like, well, it makes me being out here makes me want to be more modest and dress more modest. Then you look up and she got stuff with sleeves on it. Ain't no cleavage showing. And I was just like, when in Rome, right? When in Rome, it's not about what you have a right to do, what the community will check you in a sense, right? You feel uncomfortable because you're not adhering to the social norms of that
basically
culture.
Trying to say that, they should accept you no matter what you're wearing in a church and stuff, right? But that's part of that culture, and that's how how to be and behave in that culture in that culture.
Yeah. Well, and in the last video
community.
about this play, in part one of this play, I was talking about, how somebody had told Heit, excuse you, when we were in Harold's Chicken in Chicago. And, I pointed out how people don't really speak to each other like they do in the South where we live and where Heit is from. And so that's like a cultural gap. It's a cultural difference, right, between the regions and how people behave. And so somebody in the comments had come and said, I think he said they grew up in New Jersey, but they were from the South. And so we speak because that's how it's supposed to be, or that's the right thing to do. And, I responded, and I'm not picking on you, but this is like food for us to think about, right? I responded and I said, I explained that people become uncomfortable if you speak to them in Chicago because they're wondering because you're acting weird to them, right? If you start coming up and you're extra friendly, that's weird and it makes people uncomfortable. She said it was the polite thing to do, to speak to people. So they would speak to people where they were because it was polite. And I'm like, okay, but if I'm walking down the street and I'm speaking to a stranger and it makes them uncomfortable, is that polite? Not in that culture, right? It's not polite to them. In fact, it's rude to them because you are disturbing my peace, because now I'm wondering what's going on and you may even be scaring me.
In different cultures where okay, the man talking to the woman talking to the man are touching each other, and kind of where I'm from, people hug and things, but it's not acceptable everywhere.
Yeah.
And you have to know this.
Yeah. And not even just because of your location, but also, you may have religious customs that you're adhering to. When I grew up, we were kind of reared not to be interacting with men physically. Even unless it was like my family member or something like that, I wasn't, hugging men and touching, obviously, he had little boyfriends and stuff like that. But the point is, it was clear that it was unacceptable. And, the way you would conduct yourself as a grown woman is that you're not physically interacting, with men in that way. And it's perceived as a sign of disrespect, even like, oh, if I'm someplace with, with Heit or whatever, like I would be physically, interacting physically with a man, whether it be, touching and hugging. Only with family, would I do that. So it just depends. And, so you never really know. So I say that to say back to the idea of when in Rome and back to how people are dressing and the social norms and stuff. That's the reason for the saying, when in Rome, act as the Romans do. Not that you should just do any doggone thing. But the point is that instead of trying to make people adhere to your culture from wherever you're from, you are a guest someplace or you are someplace different. And you have to realize that it's not for you to be changing. The right way is
bumping up against the wall all you want.
Yeah.
So then they have a whole song about this, and they're basically talking about, hey, you don't need to care about what people.
Yeah, so he's singing. He was off in his singing a little bit.
Oh, that's what I was thinking.
Because he gave his only son.
And I was kind of like, okay.
No, am I?
Nah.
Maybe I'm thinking about the wrong one.
Both the men were off because we're going to get to that next. So that was the preacher. When he was singing, he was a little off, but he wasn't as bad as Oscar, who is the husband of Michelle, the one, who thinks she is too big or whatever. So basically, but to finish out Patrice and her husband's story. So Patrice basically gets saved right then and there after her husband sings the song.
See, the Bible says that if you just confess with your mouth.
And he's just like, all it takes to get saved. And they actually have a moment, where they're like, you just have to, you've confessed that you believe and, that you'll be free from your sins. I was just thinking to myself, like, okay, well, might as well just recite John 3:16. And I felt like I heard people in the audience saying the words with him as he was saying it. And it occurs to me that like, this is also a way to evangelize, right? To pass on the religious beliefs, right? This is another way that you could be reaching people if you're trying to grow your Christian church, right? You watch this and then, my heartstrings start getting tugged on. And then the next thing you know, I'm saying it with the character, right? So that can happen. And I mean, it's not unlike church services, depending on, what church that you go to. But anyway, so they did that. She gets saved right on stage. And then we move along to Michelle and her husband, who are next in this group because they're having group counseling. In between all this, we got Floyd, who is, Roger's daddy, who is running interference and making jokes and doing all of this and that. But I'm kind of over the comedy at this point in the play. I just ignore a lot of the comedy. I'm just like, okay, what's going to happen next? What's going to happen next? So, Oscar starts talking about how he used to love a lot of things about Michelle, his wife, but that she has changed. And he talked about he's just not attracted to big women and all that.
I'm not attracted to big women.
And then Patrice, the ex-stripper, she speaks up and she's like, girl, you owe it to yourself to keep yourself up for your man.
Then you owe it to yourself to keep yourself up for your man. You know what I'm saying?
Women let themselves go after they get married. And I was just like,
That's why they husbands be at the strip club spending all that money.
Now each of these characters is saying things that we know are how groups of people believe about what women do and shouldn't do in marriage. And this definitely represents, because we've all heard people say that, keep yourself up for your man, or he might be doing, and I don't know. Go to the comments, y'all. How do y'all feel about that? Do you think that women let themselves go? Do you think that it's her responsibility for that? I want to know. But anyway, so she says that, and then it's soon discovered that Oscar been, making it rain up in the strip club, and she knew him because he was one of her regulars.
Child, he used to be one of my regulars over at Crazy Horse on 13th Street.
And not just that, is that he was wasting money that they didn't have.
Michelle had to get a second job so he could go make it rain up in the strip club.
You mean to tell me I took on a second job to help out and you've been giving it to this old nasty stripper?
Bruh, that's so crazy.
And then, because Oscar tries to act like he doesn't recognize Patrice at first.
I don't know you.
Oh, you don't remember me?
And then some music starts playing and Patrice starts dropping it like it's hot.
You remember me now?
Yeah.
And then Oscar realized, she like, hey, Oscar. And then Oscar realizes that, oh, yeah, I do know her. Yeah. So then Michelle is like pissed because she's like, okay, I've been working these 2 jobs. I work hard for everything. And, you know, it just points to like, she's trying to do everything right. He talking about you acting like my mama. And she like, well, if you got yourself together, nobody would have to be, you know. So they're just hashing out their problems. And then Michelle just started dropping bombs on Oscar. She like, well, you know, just since you out here like that, let me just let you know, I ain't never been sexually satisfied by you.
I ain't never been sexually satisfied by you.
Is that true?
I think it probably was true because she kept saying it. And what I did, so this was one of the things I did think was funny that Floyd said. He was like, if it don't fit, you must have quit. Now,
If it don't fit, you must have quit.
Now, if everybody should know, but that's a line from the actual O.J. Simpson case that Johnny Cochran says when O.J. Simpson tries on the bloody gloves. And OJ
one of the biggest blunders in trial history.
Man, in trial history. Like, that is just a pop culture moment that you should just know.
And then he says the Book of Cochran, and I'm like, hey, was that a pun?
It's right here in the Book of Cochran.
Yeah, there it is, right there.
Oh man, that was a good one.
Cochran? Not what?
That was a good one. Okay, Tyler Perry, that was a good one. So then Floyd later references the song, he's talking, Oscar sings. Oscar is a little off. He was trying to do too many runs and all that.
Yeah, but before that though, the thing that she said, is that like the worst thing you could tell a man, really?
They acted like it was.
Because like basically.
Now probably the worst thing you could tell a man is that it ain't your baby.
Yeah, but that's like, you know,
cliche.
Verifiable, right? If it's just somebody just like, you too big, I don't like you too big. That really gets to somebody's just emotional, right?
Yeah.
And their self-worth and stuff. And then she just hits back with, yeah, but you know, you can't satisfy me. Then because that strikes at a man's supposed manhood.
Right. So, you know, because basically the way I translate that is she's saying she ain't had the big O with him, you know, so yeah.
Yeah, like something's wrong with your manhood.
So that's like, you know, basically what's happening. For those of you who don't know, you should visit axiom.app and you'll be able to look at all of the recent videos across all of our channels. And I'm putting that on the screen right now just so y'all can see it and see what it looks like. Because there are a ton of videos that are over there. And also, I think that there are at least about 100 exclusive videos that are available for our Patreon members and our YouTube members. So, you know, if you're interested in more of our content, as I've seen many of you binge watching, be sure to check those things out. And so then Oscar sings and, you know, he's expressing himself and then they make up or whatever. Now, Oscar singing, it wasn't that great. Like, sometimes you're doing too much and then you sound bad because he was off key at points in the song. I was just like, okay.
Sorry seems to be the hardest words to say.
Yeah.
This is where the live performance, it was just a little too much. Sometimes you just need to sing it straight. Sometimes you just need to sing it straight. But he had to
beg like that, right?
Yeah.
People don't like begging though now.
Well,
they like
we got to get to that because of something Floyd said though. Floyd references R. Kelly's "Feeling on Your Booty."
You know, we're listening to the radio and we're hearing songs like "Your Booty."
That song references that and says that there's no good love songs anymore, and that's why people can't stay together.
I mentioned R. Kelly in the video. I talked about basically how R&B died. So yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, and that's why people can't stay together because they don't have any good love songs. And I was thinking to myself, if "Feeling on Your Booty" was just way out there and just crazy for, you know, back in 2008 or whatever, when this is 2009.
That's before they said you got to eat the booty like groceries.
Eat the booty like groceries. Like imagine how people fell out when they heard that, you know. But the songs today really are more so about, you know, a lot of it is heartbreak when it is about love. It's about how, you know, every man is dirty or every woman is whatever.
Over.
Yeah. And then you have a lot of women singing songs about kind of like being what is perceived as, as traditionally how men have treated women. They've turned that on its ear, and that's what they sing about, and that's what the younger generation seems to really champion.
And like I say, because of the influence of so-called hip-hop or rap music. So
yeah. So then we get to something that I'm wondering, did Tyler Perry pay for this? Because he sings, they sing three songs that are real actual love songs. Maybe he didn't pay at the time and then he paid later. I don't know. Y'all go to the comments.
I'm sure when the DVD came out.
Yeah, he had to pay for that. So Al Green's Love and Happiness.
Love and happiness.
They did a
they sing that
interpolation of Billie Jean.
No.
Yeah. And then they sing the Isley Brothers, For the Love of You. TT sings that.
Day will make a way for now.
And then actually Patrice joins in. And I like Patrice's voice.
Glad to be here alone.
As well. And, you know, if y'all don't know For the Love of You, let me tell you, I did not know this was an Isley Brothers song when it came out. You know, I was a young
'Cause you was
person.
listening to the country station?
No, because I was a young person, and the first time I heard that song was Whitney Houston's second album, Whitney Houston Whitney,
okay.
which came out in 89 maybe. And 88, no. Came out in 87 because that's the year that I went to the concert. And it was her second album.
Hey, y'all, she got to see Whitney Houston.
Yes.
When she was the voice.
Yes. And I mean, it was so amazing. That was I was the happiest kid ever. So yeah, I got to see her in concert, and song was on the album, but I did not know that was an Isley Brothers song. I sung it, and you know, once again, it was my uncle when he heard that song, and I was like, oh yeah, you know, this is Whitney Houston song. He said, no, this is the same uncle who told me that Whitney Houston song, I Believe in You and Me, that song that she sings in The Preacher's Wife, he told me that was a remake. I didn't know that. I was like, you know, this is a Whitney song. What you mean? You know,
we all turned into this person.
Yes. And so, but this is what happens to the young people now when they think that, you know, other people who we know, sang the original. They're like, well, no, this is so-and-so song. That's how it was. I thought it was Whitney Houston's song. It was the Isley Brothers. But yeah, so that's how I learned. But he told me, he was like, no, that's the Isley Brothers. I was like, Isley who? You know, because again, at that point, I'm listening to Whitney Houston. And I'm thinking she done invented everything because Whitney was just everything back then. And still is. So Patrice starts singing, and like I said, I like her voice. And then Becky comes in, and everybody just stops singing and everything like that.
No. What is it, Becky?
Because they like don't even come in here, and you know the tone in the room, even though they don't exactly say it, is like, you know, Becky is white, so they, you know, you come in and you trying to interrupt, and if Floyd says something, he's like, this is not an affirmative action moment, Becky.
This is not an affirmative action moment, Becky.
Bruh,
and then Becky was like,
a little talk about affirmative action.
Yes.
What were we talking about?
We were talking about it in the Tales from the Hood video that I referenced earlier, that I told y'all need to follow the breadcrumbs. Go to that video. It's linked in the description. You need to follow the breadcrumbs because that's really important for today. Anyway, so that you did, you know, give a breakdown of affirmative action, the history of that in that video. Like, that video is chock full of some stuff. And let me just also say that, you know, when you're saying things that might be viewed as more controversial or whatever, that video is like, we can't make hardly any ad revenues off that video because it was just too hot to handle and too cold to hold, apparently, for YouTube. So, you know, always feel free to support the channel because, again, you know, the time and effort it took to make that and not be able to you know, have it be profitable, it sucks. So but they're making fun of Becky, you know, and they're like, and Floyd is like, don't come in here singing Ave Maria, basically. And she was like, all right, fine. So then she starts, you know, it really is. Then she starts singing like Tina Marie. She's singing Fire and Desire, which is, you know, if you know, you know, Tina Marie, Rick James.
It was
And she starts singing this song. And then Floyd joins in because, I don't know, for some reason in that song, I always felt like Rick James was singing it crazy. Because, you know, when he comes with his part, he's like, you will go there, I will go there.
I was cold as ice.
I was cold as ice. That part, you know, he's singing it ridiculously. But
yeah, that's how they always do, man. They was messed up in the 70s, bro, basically. And they just kept that going. Think about it. Party all the time. Come on, man.
You know, so
was crazy.
I felt like of course she would sing Tina Marie. Her voice. Now we talked about in the last part, because she didn't sing in the first half of this this play. So we talked about, okay, is, you know, what does this look like? Because is she gonna be able to sing or not? Because Tyler Perry said, you know, she could sing. She sing like she's black, and I would say that she's got a good voice. She really does.
I seen something that said that maybe a Tina Marie biopic, a biopic, but I don't know if it's true, so I have to look that up.
I would love there to be one. Rest in peace, Tina Marie, because, you know, I really enjoyed, you know, her. I didn't know as much about her in the 80s per se, because, you know, I was a kid trying to grow up. But as like when she kind of had a resurgence after, you know, later, kind of the way that Rick James did a little bit, you know, where it wasn't about them being at the top of the charts in that moment. You know how it is as people get older, then they start bringing them back out again. So she was singing and stuff.
I'm from Louisiana, and Cash Money signed her, and they put out an album. I have it.
I didn't even know. I didn't know anything about that. So she starts singing like Tina Marie, and she was like, and then she stops, right? And they were like, no, you can stay or whatever. And, you know, so they sang, and, you know, it was, you know, it was a good performance. And then that's how it ends. So the couples are back together. Each of them look like they're going to work out their problems with one another. So TT and Floyd have saved Judith's practice and have become the marriage counselors, even though they don't have any experience in that. Because TT say, I know Jesus. So that's what they have done up to this point. The next scene, we see Roger. First thing we see is TT and Floyd. They're in the office, and Floyd's standing on top of the desk talking about he thinking about Becky. And then TT come over, and she like, I got something for you. And she started kissing Floyd.
Come on, baby.
Mama.
Don't call her now.
And then Roger walks in and is like, hell no.
Hell no.
And so then Floyd acts like he doesn't want it or whatever. And he's, you know, just like, oh, he was basically saved by Roger's interruption from, you know, TT coming on to him or whatever. So then they, you know, make a joke like basically he may not come when you want him, but he's always right on time. And so then Roger starts talking about the receipts from Judith's practice that TT and Floyd have been working. And he's so happy. He's like, you know, y'all saved my life. And Floyd is like, God saved your life, you know?
What in the Dr. Malachi Love?
If you know Dr. Malachi Love, listen.
What the...
Yes. So then Lisa comes in, right? Lisa, that's the one that is Ronald's ex-wife, and she comes in.
The cleaner.
The cleaner, right. She comes in and she's like, I'm here for my last check and whatever. Floyd likes her and he's all flirting with her and everything. And so Roger says to her, well, like, take it that your ex-husband never found you. And she's like, yeah, thank you so much for not telling him where I was. And so Roger asked her, you know, why would you settle for a job like this when you could have had alimony? Because, you know, obviously Ronald is rich. And she's like, look, he said he'll kill me if I asked him for anything. And she wasn't getting ready to test him because he was crazy.
Because Ronald told me he would kill me if I asked him for anything. And I wasn't about to test that crazy fool.
So then, Roger asked, well, you know, I'm not trying to be in your business, but did he hit you? And she was like, yeah, he hit everybody he was with. The last woman he hit ended up in intensive care. Just like me, she has HIV.
Now, just like me, she has HIV.
So, and Ronald does too.
You have HIV?
Yes, and Ronald does too.
So we know, like in the movie, it was never said that he had it. You know what I mean?
Right,
obviously,
until later on, yeah.
You know, we figured it out later because obviously he passed it on to Judith in the movie. But here, his ex-wife is the one who tells that Ronald definitely has it. And so then Roger is shocked and he just tells, you know, Lisa, hey, if you need anything, let me know. Just call us or whatever. And so I think it's interesting that that Lisa was so open about her HIV status, right?
Yeah.
Because I don't feel like people, you know, I don't feel like it still was or even today would even be safe that that people would feel comfortable in a room full of people, you know, to tell them and share that, you know, because there is still a stigma. So Roger is like, oh, you know, I got to go find Judith and let her know what's up.
Isn't Judith with her ex-husband?
Yes, ma'am.
And the mama is just like, I know where she is and everything.
I've got to let her know, though. I've got to find her and let her know.
I know where she is. I got to
You
go
know
get
where
my
she
child.
is?
And the daddy asks Roger, hey, you ain't been with Judith since she's been with him, have you?
Oh, God, my baby.
Son, have you slept with her since she's been with him?
And he said no. And Floyd was just like, oh, thank you, Lord, you know.
No, Daddy, I haven't.
Thank you.
Because, he's worried about his son possibly having it. And, so he feels relieved that, he doesn't have that worry on his mind anymore. So they're, I guess, going to go and try to find Judith. But what do you think about like how this all went down and how the parents found out and stuff? And what's up with TT liking Floyd?
Yeah, I know. That's the weird part. It's like, how does it work when parents of spouses get together?
I know it's happened. Y'all go to the comments.
Like,
do y'all ever hear about that happening?
I don't even know, because you become kind of like siblings.
I don't like it would just that just is interesting right there. That's interesting.
That's a real interesting part.
Uh-huh.
But I think this kind of unfolded the whole not using HIV as a real twist. Unfolded better in the play
than in the movie.
Yeah, in the movie, because it's just like, and that's my husband. Oh,
yeah. A lot of y'all said that the plays are better than the movies, and you really like the plays a lot more than the movies. So far, I would say my assessment, even though I don't know how this one ends, but my assessment is that the plays are they're like a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
I don't look at them the same as I look at the movies, so they're just different. So let's see if they find Judith, and when they do, what's her state of mind and body gonna be?
How are you? I got some things for you from the mall, and then I decided
get your hands off of me.
So
world, Ronald just was going to hell off.
Yes.
He's sitting up in there, he's snorting that coke
and acting a fool. Judith comes in from shopping, and Ronald is got in a mood talking about where you been.
I'm trying to keep from choking the hell out of you. That's what's wrong with me.
And she like, well, what you doing? I'm trying to keep from choking you. Like crazy, just came out of bag on her. Yeah. He's acting all jealous, asking if she went to the mall with Roger. And then she's like, is this cocaine?
Is this cocaine?
Wait a second. You don't question me in my house.
And he like, don't be questioning me in my house.
Is this cocaine?
And then he lays down the law. You better never leave this house without my permission. He just high and
But
crazy.
like, why was somebody in the audience like, yeah, that's right, basically?
Man,
So
listen. The audience is crazy too. Because
he started taking his shirt off and they started cheering.
You want to know why? Because I'm going to show you exactly what happens to every single...
Like, okay, he's acting like a stone cold fool, but you just worried about his naked body. But see, that's how she got ensnared, right? Y'all over here, and you see what this character is, but you don't even care. You just like, ooh, wee, and so they looking at him taking his stuff off and whatever. And she's like, you hurting me. And he's like, I ain't hurt you yet. Sit down before I kill you. And then he starts talking about you gonna try to leave me and stuff like that. You gonna try to leave me, just desert me just like you did Roger, ain't you? And that was when he started taking off his shirt and stuff. So in the end, then he just started like beating her.
Is that what you gonna do? Shut up! I want to hear that. Shut up!
And it's such a sensitive subject when it comes to DV, because I think that the first time that something like that happens to people, they are stunned. Like it just because it looked like it came out of nowhere. He was buttering her up all this time. Baby, let me give you this car. Baby, you belong with me. I'm a great man. And then you done came out of bag after she done left her, mostly stable situation. You done came out of bag on her. And now she's like, ugh.
Well, all that glitters ain't gold.
But somebody in the comments thinks she deserves it, I'm sure. Go ahead and speak up so we can all talk it out. Because, folks inevitably will say, well, people try to tell her, and all that. But yeah, so she looked up and now, life is teaching her some lessons. And here she is looking like she might wind up just like the lady that Lisa was talking about that ended up in the ICU behind Ronald and his coke rage.
When Judith comes to, she sings a song.
Yeah, and she is sitting there singing about being shattered and empty and broken and confused, just looking devastated, the whole devastated mess after she had gotten beat like anybody would.
Broken.
And in terms of the DV, if you have ever been through something like that, I think this is probably an accurate depiction of how a person's world is just turned upside down because everything she thought she understood is not how she thought it was, right? Somebody who she trusted, as she never would have expected this, and she, goes to blaming herself. How did I let you do this to me? She's blaming herself in that moment. But she was, when the camera first pans in, like, I was thinking to myself, oh man, she is sitting here and she was sitting there looking a mess, looking like Sister on Sparkle after that man had Sparkle. Sister down bad in the movie Sparkle. And not the remake. I'm talking about the original one where Lynette McKee is playing Sister in that movie. The one where
he probably got that from in the movie?
Maybe. Yeah.
Because this is different, right? In the movie, she was, partaking, but not in...
Yeah. Whereas here, she's not, doing the coke and all that. But in her song, she is saying like that she is giving it up to the Lord. Like, remember, she had said to her mama before, like, that Bible ain't don't mean nothing and stuff like that.
Yeah, because she got her Ivy League degree.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But she does say that I gave him my heart and he walked out the door. Now, so does that mean that Ronald has abandoned her at this point? I don't know, but
think they were just writing this song.
Yeah, but there was a knock at the door, so we got to see what happens next.
Judith?
Baby girl.
So at the door was her husband.
And TT and Floyd.
All the people, the cavalry came.
Mm-hmm.
And her husband came to save her, and she embraced him, and of course she's
after
apologizing
all I did
and stuff.
wrong, I'm so sorry.
After all I did to you, I am so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
And then Roger's trying to go after Ronald, and then his daddy like, nah, bro, don't do that.
No, son, no. It's not the time nor the place, all right?
But then his daddy takes his time trying to get some weed.
Well, because he see it, he's like, this is my weed,
Yeah. And then here comes Ronald.
You got a lot of nerve coming to my damn house.
Hot boy Ronald coming out the room.
With no shirt on.
And he's doing the Cash Patel. If you know, he's doing a Cash Patel. And then...
the women have already gone to the car, just by the way. So it's only the men up there.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically Ronald's like, you got a lot of nerve coming up in my house. And then Roger is just like, you put your hands on my wife.
You put your hands on my wife.
Yeah.
Now you gonna have to kill me.
Now you're going to have to kill me.
And, he was talking about, I'm from Shaker Heights now.
Yeah, it don't even matter. I'm from Shaker Heights.
Now, Shaker Heights is a community in Cleveland, if you know, you know. And so 2 of the actors that were on the cast were from Cleveland. I can't remember if the one, but and the show is taking place in Cleveland.
They mentioned Cleveland Heights in an earlier
Shaker
scene.
Heights?
No, Cleveland Heights.
Cleveland Heights,
yeah.
okay. So I thought that was pretty cool, like for the Cleveland audience. And somebody in the comments of the last one said that they remember when this was recorded in Cleveland that all the people in Cleveland was sitting up in their furs and stuff. So like this was an event in Cleveland when this play came to Cleveland. So I thought that was funny because you know how we'll do. We about to get dressed up. We going out. We going to the theater and we gonna put on our furs and our whatever and big hats and all that to go and see the Tyler Perry play. So I think that that's probably what the atmosphere was like at the time. So anyway, back to Roger. So Roger and Ronald start the fighting and whatever, and
that's it, son.
Then I'm guessing that Roger got the upper hand.
We don't know.
And
Roger's,
I know Roger's daddy was like, "Oh, light skin ain't in this year," so
light skin ain't in this year.
That's what's making me think that, he has the upper hand, but we got to see.
Before I tell you what happened, just know that Judith is standing there by herself in the end.
Looking crazy. So
what in the world?
Roger comes in and then Judith is reading something. She's like, my test results came in. I'm negative.
And I'm negative.
So Judith didn't get the, HIV from Ronald. So that's positive. She's like, I'll have to get checked again in 6 months. And then she apologizes to Roger. And she's like, how was I the marriage counselor? And I can't even save my own marriage. And, then Roger's like, look, it's not your own fault. I'm sure there was something I must have done to contribute to this. So I'm like, okay, at this late date, we can't figure that. If you believe you did something to contribute to it, then, that would be a great time. But anyway, so he's like, I'm sure I played some role in this. And then we so often make the mistake of thinking the grass is greener on the other side. And how he was like, you hurt me, you hurt my heart.
because I have forgiven you.
You betray my trust, and once it's broken, I can't get it back.
You broke my heart and you betrayed my trust.
And then Roger starts singing, and he's talking about how he truly loves Judith. And he said he forgive her, but he's sorry, but let's just end this as friends.
But let's end this as friends.
And then, you know, the message that's given in that song is like, sometimes we staying too long, sometimes we praying too long and whatever. And so he's letting go. He hopes she could let go too, and all that in this song. So Roger decided, like, look, you know, I'm bouncing.
Yeah.
This is it.
And basically he said in the end it's because she chose another man over me.
Yeah. So here's my thing. I want to know what forgiveness looks like in his mind.
I know,
like,
right?
Did you forgive? Or is it really forgiveness? Or is it
I don't
that
think so. Yeah.
you can't get over it, so you just didn't, you know? I can't say I definitively know the answer, but that's the first question that comes to my mind. Y'all, and chime in the comments, because we got to talk about that. Not to say he's obligated to be with her or anything, because what she did was totally trifling and wrong.
Yep.
But you know, and disrespectful. And we see it go, and I like that this was a woman doing this too, because so many times, you know, you have the story of the husband being the dog and dogging the wife out and stuff. But the truth of the matter is that people cheat, and it goes both ways. It's not just women, it's not just men. And to see depictions of it going both ways, I think is also, you know, a true representation of the folks who are doing this type of stuff.
Yeah.
But I do like that in the play, we get to see how they break up. Because in the movie, you know, we just see Bryce, who's Judith's husband's name in the movie. You know, we just see him pop up later. He got a new wife, he got a baby and all that. And so we know that they broke up. And then, you know, at that point, Judith comes in. She looks a whole generation older than everybody else when she's coming in to get her medication in the movie. It's not even the same actress. And it just felt different. How do y'all in the comments feel about the fact that she wound up with not being HIV positive? I do like that ending much better, but I am kind of stuck, because when she was HIV negative, I was like, oh, so he's gonna stay. They're gonna figure out how to stay together. That's what I thought. And then I was like, dang, he just bounced. But you know what?
It's sort of like with I think Why Did I Get Married, right? You basically quote, nurse them back to health, and now you can make a good exit.
Oh yeah, Why Did I Get Married? The play, same kind of. Oh no, Diary of a Mad Black Woman.
Yeah,
that one. Yeah, you know, I done nursed you back to health, but I'm still finna bounce. And
yeah, well, and in this, he's just like, oh, I rescued you from this horrible situation because you were my wife, but you ain't my wife no more.
Yeah, I'm done. So then they got a knock at the door or whatever, and. Oh no! So when he says "I gotta leave, baby," that's what the last things he said to Judith. She's sitting up there looking crazy because he's leaving. The audience claps though, and I did kind of feel relieved for him that he did what he felt he needed to do, because truly in that situation he was under no obligation to stay. So, you know, look, you rescued her, you went the extra mile, you took care of her mama, you took care of your daddy, you kept paying her student loans. Like you went the extra mile and then some. So then there's a knock at the door, and it's Becky, and he's like, hey, you know, and then he gives her a kiss, and I was like, wait a minute, hold on.
Becky, hey, baby, come on in.
What is this?
I know.
He done
What
got
you
with
doing,
Becky?
Tyler Perry? That's crazy.
You know, that was what I thought. And then who comes pimp walking out the bedroom but Floyd, who is Roger's daddy, and Floyd and Becky done got together.
You take this to the car for me, baby? Mm-hmm. Thank you, baby.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
I'm like, dang, so TT feelings gonna be hurt because we ain't seen TT yet at the end of the movie, at the end of this play. So, Floyd gathers up and leaves with Becky.
Yep. So this whole entire time, I was like, who does she look like? Tamar Davis. Who does she look like? The one who played Judith.
I don't know.
And I just figured it out.
Who?
It's her. The singer, her.
She looks like her?
Yes.
I gotta look back at her.
Her looks like her.
Yeah, because Tamar is probably older than the singer, her.
Especially with like the curly hair and stuff. I'm like, oh. Because the whole time I'm like, man, she looked familiar, but I can't figure out.
Oh, I see.
who it
Oh,
is.
you know, you're right. I see it. I see it. Y'all go to the comments. Do y'all see it? I mean, because the wigs are different, but when her hair is longer, you can see it much more. Yeah, maybe she does look like her. But yeah, so that's that's where we are in the movie. We don't know what the final parts of the movie are gonna be, but I still am happier because y'all know, and some of y'all were like, I love it when y'all have a heated debate, because in the part 1 of this and in the video about the movie, somebody said that in the comments. But I do too, because we try to be transparent, because after we were talking about whether the difference between punishment and we just really hashed it out in the part 1 of this play, and we talked about a similar subject in the movie Temptation, that is related to this play, right? And the idea of whether in the movie she's gotten punished because she gets HIV, but in the movie it might not have been consensual. So, not to rehash it, but that's what we were talking about, just for reference for those of you guys who didn't see it. And, I'm like, yeah, but the thing is that I feel like we're both just transparent and honest about how we feel in a moment, and that's what you guys get to see, because we are reacting as it happens. Like, we literally are still watching this movie. Like, we're not done watching the movie right now. While I'm talking, I don't know what's gonna happen in the end, and that's just part of the transparency. But we can have these conversations, and I mean, obviously it doesn't mean that we're like having an argument, or this is part of discussion, dialogue, back and forth. And we also like to have those same kinds of conversations with you all, and it's definitely done with and in a lot of love,
It's kind of conversations that were had in the good old days of social media.
Facebook, man, we used to have some good conversations. Now it's just whatever.
I know. I don't even want to talk to nobody. I don't know.
And I cannot reiterate enough, y'all, that link to the Tales from the Hood video, y'all need to follow them breadcrumbs. So anyway, but somebody did make that comment about, I like it when y'all get heated with it. But I'm grappling with the end of this. So let's just see how it ends, so we can have.
That is the end.
That's the end?
Yeah, and then the cast comes out.
Bruh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that was the end. So
where
is TT? What happened to TT? We don't see TT no more.
Let's do this for good measure.
Ladies and gentlemen, introducing the
There you go.
Bruh. Y'all, Tyler Perry, I needed you to show me at least something. Judith, mama coming out and be like, baby, we gonna be okay together. Something. Dang, Judith. That's all you could do is look crazy.
The mama show up and he's like, let's go to church.
You're gonna have to sing I Love the Lord or something. Like, you ain't gave me no catharsis. I guess the relief is that she doesn't have HIV, so everything else can, you just, hey, look, that's what happened.
This is like the punishment too, right? Everybody else got somebody.
Losing your husband, you got off easy.
Yeah, I guess.
At the end of the day, because she was just wild up in here. She was just, woo, child. I don't know. Okay, well then let's just, let's talk about it.
Judith?
Let's talk about the real reason. Okay, first of all, let's talk about the real reason that this play Judith cheated. What was the real reason? Because that's what this video, we promised that. What was the real reason?
So your boy, he said, so often we make the mistake to think the grass is green on the other side. And I really do think that's just what it was. The dude came through. What? Nope.
I don't think that that's what it was either. I agree with you.
Oh, no, I think that is what it is.
She thought the grass was greener?
Yeah.
But see, I think it's deeper than that. I think that the real reason she cheated is because Judith was kind of maybe a little bit of an undercover trash individual. The kind of person who is gonna use, who is comfortable, who will look around and see people suffering. She looked around, saw her husband underwater suffering, stressing over trying to take care of her. And instead of trying to ease his burden, she made it even heavier. And then had the nerve to turn around, cheat with another man,
because
try to blame him
with
for
that guy,
it.
Right?
I mean,
once the other guy come, I don't need a guy who have to work all these hours and stuff for me.
Man,
because nobody else presented anything to her, right? There was something in contrast with what she had. But once they did, then it's like, yeah, that's where I'm gonna go. She switched up real fast, and with the car and everything, it's just like, yeah,
She ain't had no kind of loyalty. This
He
man
said,
is
"He's
taking care of
beneath
your
you."
mama.
But this stuff came out too, like when she was talking to her mama, like my Ivy League education don't allow me
Yeah.
to believe that trash.
Yeah, that's
you
why I'm saying
believe.
she was a trash individual on a level. You know, she was what I would call
Yeah,
incognito
but was she
trash
cheating
individual.
before that?
But she didn't have to be cheating to have these elements of
No, but we're answering why is
she cheated. She cheated because
Because she
she's
was
a trash individual.
Bruh,
That's why you
well, she would have
treated
cheated before then if she was that trash.
trash individuals
made her
just do
cheat.
things that are selfish. That's what they do. So the manifestation of the selfishness doesn't just have to be cheating. You know, before the cheating, it was that I'm just going to disregard how you feel about it, and I'm going to let you be burdened.
Opportunity came along.
Well, but
The
my point
greener
is
grass.
that the reason she cheated is because that's
all
who
right.
she is.
I'm gonna just say that the explanation ain't good enough because it's like, why does Malachi Love do it? Hold on, let me get a different example.
For those of y'all who don't know who Malachi Love
He's
is,
a genius.
Malachi Love was this young dude who was basically practicing medicine without a license, and he wound up getting in trouble for it. But he was actually giving like real world good advice to people. He was very caring and everything. He just was not a physician, but he was taking care of patients. They was coming to see him. He was like, okay, gotta get that blood pressure down. Like he was doing the things that a good doctor would do, except he just wasn't a doctor.
No, I don't forgot what I was saying.
Sorry.
Dang.
You were making the point about why the cheating, why she cheated, and giving an example of
your explanation isn't good enough because it's just like saying that. So why does he do scams? That's just who he is, right? There is something that causes this element to happen. When it's why did she cheat? We can say that about everything, right? Why did she steal candy out the store when she was 12? Because she's just trash. But there is still a reason that goes beyond.
This is
That's
how
just
I
who you
categorize it,
as
right?
a character flaw.
I look at it like this. The same thing that would make her cheat is the same thing that makes her disregard see somebody who she supposedly cares about. She's self-centered and selfish. Like that's ultimately why she cheated. Okay, let me give you that as a real answer, because that is also the reason why she didn't care that her husband was sinking in debt. That's why she didn't care that her husband felt more responsibility toward her mother and taking care of her mother and his father than he did. And that's your own mama, your whole mama. Then after you got yourself off and got down bad, well, you didn't know you were down bad with the man yet, but you done went off and been with him. Then you come back to your husband's house to see your mama, who you ain't even got the common decency to see about your mama, really, and then left her over here on your husband. And all of these things add up to selfishness. She's selfish, and to me, that's different than somebody who was just completely enticed by a person. And I think a person could have been operating in just be normal, right? Somebody who cares about their family and whatever, and be vulnerable. And I'm trying to think of a movie where we saw that happen, where, the person is like a decent human being, but they were just at a vulnerable time and they made a mistake. But this is her whole disposition. She was proven, like you talked about with the Judith from the movie, there were character flaws that were coming up already. And here we see character flaws that add up to the selfishness, which was the same reason. So that to me is the real reason why she cheated, because she's selfish. And the cheating is just an outcome of her selfishness. No different than you letting your husband be stressed out over the bills when you could just spend less.
Yeah, I guess. But it's, I look at it more that I'm trying to find the cause for the act versus the part of the personality that causes an action to happen, right? So when he comes in with all his money and stuff that her husband don't have, then she sees that I have an opportunity to do something, right? And sort of like what Chris Rock was like, hey, women, you want to know what to do? Just be there, right? Mm-hmm. That sort of thing. Even though you could say, oh, because the man is this and that. But what happened was some woman presented herself to him, and that's what happened, right? So that's what the cause is. When this dude, why would he go around?
Selfishness meets opportunity, maybe.
Yeah.
The opportunity was there. And also, she felt deprived in a way because her selfishness had her only focusing on herself, saying, hey, I'm as if she was the only one who was sacrificing. right?
Yeah.
But and maybe her needs changed. It was interesting to me because I felt like, dang, I thought they might have been married longer, but in here they were only married 3 years. I don't know how long they were married prior to that or how old she's supposed to be in here because, you know, you're just getting your career off the ground. If you're young in the same way that like Journey Smollett was young in the movie,
she's probably mid to
maybe
late
mid 20s to late 20s, you know, something like that, maybe. But yeah. And then, you know, I was thinking about, oh, you're a marriage counselor. Like, are marriage counselors typically in their 20s at all?
I don't know.
And because I just would imagine that, you know, to be a good counselor probably is a combination of life experiences and your experiences being, you know, in therapy. So I don't know. Like, do you just go out day one? Like, I can do this? I don't know.
I went to school and I was taught.
Well, so yeah, so that's it. So did you like the movie better or did you like the play better? What about the plot though? Okay, so we know you like the presentation better, but what about the plot of the movie versus the plot of the play?
Yeah, I like that element because the whole thing of I am a marriage counselor and this guy shows up randomly, right? Who I know from the past. You know what I'm saying? It's just not the same as, okay, you're at work, you have your career that you're really trying to advance in, and then this guy comes in, and then you have the whole thing of what you're doing for your career versus what's going on with your marriage and all that stuff.
The ambiguity of did you say yes that first time?
Too, yeah.
You know, before you fell off the cliff. All of that in the movie.
And then that she turned, you know.
But I still, man, I
out.
stand by it. Like, I do not like the ending of the movie. I did not like the ending of the movie. Can I say I did not like the ending of the movie? But I think this ending is more appropriate in the play. And maybe I would have liked to see this ending in the movie. But then I would also like to reimagine an ending where it's like this play and they stay together. Like, what does that look like? What has to happen for that to take place? And, you know, how would people perceive the characters? Is it like, hey, after all that in the play, like the plot of here, if everything in this play was the same, except in the end, he doesn't leave her. He stays with her and they, you know.
Happens all the time.
Yeah. Oh, you could tell them the stories about some of the people in the military.
Wait, what? Oh, that, yeah.
You know,
I was about to say,
not you, boo. But no, about the people in the military, right?
Oh, yeah. So basically, it's situations where, like, you know, somebody go off to war, and then somehow when they get back, their wife is pregnant. And then they just go ahead and take care of the baby like it's their own, and they together with their wife.
Yeah.
And that's some forgiveness right there. Yeah, but it's a whole bunch of situations like that.
One thing I will say is I like the idea, because I asked this in the movie, where was Judith's mama was there and stuff like that. So I can't say that where was Judith's people. But I did like the idea that when you got people, even when you out of bounds, I was talking about this on the phone with my cousin. And I was like, you know, one thing about our family is even if you've been out of bounds, even when you were young and you were acting a fool, you know, one thing we always knew and still know to this day is our people finna come get us. Our people finna come check on us. So if you ever thought that they wouldn't, then you would be wrong. Because, you know, like every so often I'll be on the phone with my mama and she was like, call me with the picture phone. Because let me tell you what, it doesn't matter just what I'm saying to her. She's like, look, let me see your face. Because, you know, we don't live in the same city. And so she wants to check and verify, you know, and when you're younger, you take that for granted. You're like, oh, you know, always trying to, but you know, when you get older, you start to respect and understand that the people who love and care about you, you start to respect that and appreciate that because, you know, so many times in life, you know, you may not have that. And that brings me to, like, I see a lot of stuff on social media from people who, you know, talk about how they don't have anybody and they're cutting family off. And we talk about this a whole lot, but if you can, it's just like, don't wait for it to be too late for you to realize that you should have, you know, mended that rift. Because some things you can't take back. Yep. You know, and then like in the case of her marriage, that was a bridge too far for him. He was like, but see, to me, he didn't forgive. he didn't forgive. I don't think he forgave. Y'all go to the comments. Did Roger forgive her or not? Because I don't feel like he forgave.
I think he forgave her enough to go and save her.
I think that his reaction to save her was just knee jerk. I don't think that was really a synthesized. Let me and save. I think it was a knee jerk.
Help her.
Well,
that's what she
true.
asked for.
But that wasn't who he is as a person, right?
Yeah, I guess.
That wasn't who he is as a person, which is what his daddy was always trying to remind him of. But yeah. So, in the question of which one was better for me, the movie or the play, I thought that I liked the plot of the play better. But, I do enjoy the format of the movies because there's points with the comedy and everything here. I just feel like if I was in the audience, I would have just been laughing and cackling and really been in the moment and enjoying it. And it's just a little bit of a different experience watching the play and not being there with the audience,
Yeah. And I can enjoy the music probably better.
Yeah.
Because there was one of them songs, I can't remember which one. It probably was the I Don't Care What the World Say or whatever. Or the one where he was breaking up, where he had the saxophones and stuff in there. I'm like, all right, this would be probably a nice, good live performance.
Yeah. And just let me, as we wrap up, let you guys know, always check the community tab if you can, because we post the videos that we do have on other channels on the community tab. So that's one way. But make sure that in the description, you are subscribed to all of our channels there, because then you'll get hopefully notifications about all the videos that come out, because, we have this channel where we have a certain type of movie and video that we cover, but we know there's overlap. On the main Axiom Amnesia channel, we're covering different types of movies. So, we try to keep them a little bit separate because the audiences are a little bit different. And, then on the Axiom Amnesia 2.0 channel, we do some different types of movies, some of the newer stuff, so we just covered the movie Him that is in theaters now that we just literally saw a couple days ago. The day before the official opening day, we saw it and got a review of that out. So if you haven't seen that movie, we do have a non-spoiler portion of it. Check out that link in the comments, in the description of this video. And we also, have other videos that are on that channel. So I'm saying this here because a lot of times we post things in the community tab. You may not see it. And if you're only looking at the feed that YouTube is feeding you, then you're missing a lot of stuff. We have people who pop up that I haven't seen in a while. Yeah. And then they're like, I didn't know y'all were putting out videos.
But you can always go to axiom.app.
Yes.
And all the videos, the most recent ones, like, I don't know.
From every channel.
The most 100 recent videos are posted there.
Yes, and we also have links that are exclusively for our YouTube channel members as well as our Patreon members that are also, there's a page on axiom.app where you can see all of the videos in one place that are the member exclusive videos too. And we also want to just thank everybody who is a member. We know we thank them in the beginning, but we also thank the people who are just these ongoing supporters and members of the channel, and the new people who just recently joined as well. We appreciate that so much because it does take a lot to generate that, and there's just two of us. So
Yep. So if you made it this far, type Ivy League education in the comments so we'll know you're one of the real ones who stick around to the end.
And be sure to check out one of the videos that's on the screen right now, and also visit axiom.app where you'll find all of our recent videos in one place so that you can get links back to them and watch them here on YouTube.